The text came through on a Tuesday evening. Please don't come. The family wants a drama-free wedding. My mom didn't call, didn't ask. Just sent those words like she was canceling a dentist appointment. Then my sister Victoria liked the message. One little heart emoji. Like uninviting me was something to celebrate. I sat there in my apartment, phone in hand, staring at that notification. And something inside me just stopped. Like a machine that finally quit running after years of being pushed too hard. I typed back 2 words, great choice. Then I did something they never saw coming. I stopped being their ATM. I stopped being their problem solver. I stopped being the person who made everything work while they took all the credit. They thought they were cutting me out of a wedding. What they actually did was set me free. My name is Cassandra, and this is the story of how my family uninvited me from my sister's wedding, the wedding I'd been paying for, and how I finally stopped letting them treat me like I was disposable. Let me back up so you understand how we got here. Growing up, I was never the favorite. Not even close. My sister Victoria was the golden child. Beautiful, charming, the kind of person who could walk into a room and everyone would just notice her. Make space for her. When I walked into a room, people handed me their problems to solve. My mom, Catherine, acted like she was running some kind of perfect family empire. Always hosting, always performing, always making sure everything looked flawless from the outside. My dad, Thomas, just went along with whatever she wanted. He'd disappear into his office whenever there was conflict, leaving me to deal with the fallout. And me? I became the reliable one. The organized one. The one who always showed up with a plan and her credit card ready. I'm a project manager. I actually like spreadsheets and timelines and color-coded schedules. Structure makes sense to me. It's clean. It's logical. People? Not so much. But I learned to work with what I had. So when Victoria got engaged and the family needed someone to help plan the wedding, of course they came to me. And of course I said yes. I always said yes. I handled everything. The venue deposits. The catering schedules. The lighting team. The floral arrangements. Every single bill came to me, and I paid them without even thinking about it. Not because Victoria deserved it, but because my mother expected it. And disappointing my mother was something I'd spent my whole life trying to avoid. There was only one person who ever really saw me for who I was. My grandmother. She had this tiny garden behind her house where she grew roses. We'd sit out there, and she'd trim the flowers while talking to me about life. She once told me, Cassandra, strength isn't just about what you can carry. It's also about knowing what to put down. I didn't get it back then. I thought being strong meant carrying everything for everyone else. But as the wedding planning went on, things started to shift. Little things at first. My mom would praise Victoria's ideas, then look at mine like they were mistakes. My dad kept telling me how grateful Victoria was, even though Victoria had never once said thank you. And during one planning meeting, when I suggested we adjust the guest count to match the actual budget we had, Victoria didn't even look up from her phone. She just sighed and said, Cassie, can't you just make it work? You always do. That sentence sat in my chest for days. Heavy. Uncomfortable. But I kept going. I'd visit my grandmother before every major decision, letting the quiet of her home settle my nerves. She could tell something was wrong, but I didn't want to burden her. She'd already watched this family disappoint her enough times. The morning the text came, the one uninviting me, I was sitting at my desk reviewing the final payment schedule for the wedding. Sunlight was coming through my window, hitting the silver necklace my grandmother had given me. She said it represented clarity. Funny how clarity always shows up right before something breaks. That's when I realized the truth. I wasn't part of their celebration. I was just funding it. And for the first time in my life, that truth didn't hurt me. It woke me up. After that text, I watched the family group chat with new eyes. Everything felt fake. Too cheerful. Too perfect. Like they were all performing this happy family act, and I was the stagehand they didn't want anyone to see. Then came the moment that changed everything. My mom announced she wanted a wedding week, a whole series of pre-events to impress Victoria's future in-laws. She said it casually, like it was no big deal, but I saw where her eyes went. Right to the envelope sitting on the counter. My grandmother's savings envelope. The money she'd kept for emergencies. The money she'd protected her whole life. "Mom," I said slowly, "that's not what that money is for." She blinked at me like I was speaking another language. "Cassandra, don't be dramatic. Victoria is only getting married once." I looked at Victoria, hoping she'd say something, hoping she'd understand how messed up this was. She just shrugged. "It's not a big deal, Cassie. Grandma doesn't even use that money." My stomach dropped. They'd talked about this. They'd planned it. They were going to take my grandmother's emergency fund to pay for party decorations and champagne. A few days later, I took my grandmother to a dress fitting for the wedding. While she stood in front of the mirror, adjusting the fabric, she whispered to me, "I heard your mother talking. They're preparing things without you." Her voice shook when she said it. Not from fear, from truth. I didn't know what to say. The fitting assistant called us over before I could respond. 2 days after that, everything fell into place. I stopped by my mom's house to drop off the finalized timeline for the rehearsal dinner. Victoria was on the couch, scrolling through her phone. When she saw me, she barely looked up. "Oh," she said. "Didn't know you were coming by." Not hostile, just dismissive, like I was a delivery person who'd shown up unannounced. My mom walked in from the kitchen. "We're confirming the guest seating. Victoria found a better layout than the one you sent." Better. Not kinder. Not more practical. Just better, because it came from Victoria. Then Victoria's phone lit up. I saw the notification. My mother's text. The one that had uninvited me. And I watched Victoria's thumb tap the little heart icon next to it. Right there. Right in front of me. She liked the message that told me not to come to the wedding I'd been paying for. She didn't even look up. Just locked her phone and said, "It's for the best, Cassie." Everyone agrees. Everyone. I stood there, staring at the two of them. The air felt too thick to breathe. My grandmother's words echoed in my head. "They're preparing things without you." This wasn't a mistake. This wasn't some miscommunication. This was intentional, calculated, cruel. And in that moment, I understood. I wasn't dealing with people who'd made a bad choice. I was dealing with people who'd planned this. That night, I sat alone in my apartment with my laptop open. Every wedding payment I'd made was right there on the screen. Line after line. Venue deposits. Catering schedules. Floral installments. Lighting adjustments. It looked less like a celebration and more like a receipt for my own erasure. For years, I'd told myself my family didn't mean to take advantage of me. That I was helping. That my support made things easier for everyone. But staring at those numbers, I finally saw it. They weren't relying on me. They were using me up. My phone buzzed. Another group chat message. Victoria sending the updated seating chart. "Mom wants my layout instead." No, please. No, thank you. No acknowledgement that I'd spent hours on that plan. I closed the laptop. My hands didn't shake. I wasn't crying. I felt calm. Clear. Like something inside me had finally aligned. I opened a private message to my mother and typed, "Great choice." Then I added the sentence they weren't expecting, "Then you'll be free of my payments too." I hit send. The silence after that felt almost sacred. I opened my laptop again. This time, I had a purpose. One by one, I went through every contract tied to the wedding. Catering, lighting, venue, decor, rentals. Every single agreement was under my name. Every approval went through my account. The authority they'd assumed was theirs had always been mine. I didn't need to argue with them. I just needed to stop enabling them. I emailed every vendor. Professional. Clean. To the point. We will not be moving forward. Please cancel the pending invoice. Do not process additional payments. I didn't explain why. I didn't vent about family drama. This wasn't revenge. This was setting a boundary. As I worked, a strange calm filled the room. Not satisfaction. Not anger. Just alignment. Like I was finally acting in a way that matched what I actually felt inside. Around midnight, someone knocked on my door. My grandmother. She looked small standing there in the hallway light. She came inside and sat on my couch, smoothing her skirt the way she always did when she was gathering courage. I know they hurt you, she said quietly. But you don't have to carry them anymore. Her voice trembled. And that, more than anything, broke something open inside me. My family had treated her the same way. An afterthought. A resource to be drained. She knew exactly what it felt like to love people who didn't protect you. I took her hand. I'm done carrying them, Grandma. I'm choosing us this time. She nodded. Her eyes were shining. Not with sadness. With something that looked like pride. Before she left, she whispered, when they come home, we'll be ready. And for the first time in my life, I believed her. The morning my family was scheduled to return from their trip felt weirdly quiet. Like the whole city was holding its breath. My grandmother sat at my kitchen table, folding and unfolding the same napkin. Her eyes kept drifting to the window. I made tea just to keep my hands busy. The reality of what was about to happen settled deeper into my chest with every minute that passed. I checked my phone one last time. No messages from my family. Not even a quick update about their flight. Of course not. As far as they were concerned, I didn't exist unless they needed something fixed. But today, they were going to need something else entirely. Are you sure you're ready? My grandmother asked softly. I nodded. More than ready. We got to the airport early. My grandmother held my arm as we walked through the terminal. She didn't say much, but her presence was the anchor I'd needed my whole life. Steady. Warm. Honest. Our attorney, Grant, met us near the arrivals hall. He was calm, collected. The kind of person who made chaos feel manageable. He nodded at us and opened a folder. Everything's in order, he said. We'll wait until they exit baggage claim. They'll likely approach you first. Be prepared for that. Prepared for their version of the story? I murmured. He smiled faintly. People who depend on you rarely prepare to face a world where you've stopped giving. My grandmother squeezed my hand. A rush of movement pulled our attention to the sliding doors. Passengers started coming through, tired faces, wrinkled clothes, dragging suitcases. Then I saw them. My mom leading the way, back straight, face sharp like she'd just returned from a victory tour. Victoria followed, dragging an overstuffed suitcase. Connor, her fiancé, walked behind with his face buried in his phone. For 1 second, old instincts kicked in. The urge to greet them. To smooth things over. To make myself small enough to keep the peace. But that version of me belonged to a life I didn't live anymore. My mother spotted us first. Confusion flickered across her face. Then irritation. What are you doing here? She snapped, pulling her coat tighter. You didn't need to pick us up. We already have a ride. We're not here to pick you up, I said. Victoria rolled her eyes. Then what? You're here to apologize for ruining our wedding plans? My grandmother inhaled sharply. Grant stepped forward before I could speak. Good morning. My name is Grant Peterson. I represent Cassandra and her grandmother in a matter requiring your immediate attention. The color drained from my mother's face. Victoria blinked rapidly, her chest rising in shallow breaths. This must be a joke, my mom said, forcing a laugh. A lawyer? For what? For the financial exploitation concerning wedding-related funds, Grant replied evenly, handing her an envelope. And the attempted use of your mother's savings without consent. My mother snatched the document but didn't open it. We didn't exploit anyone. Everything was agreed upon. Cassandra offered to help. She always does. That's the problem, I said quietly. You expected it. Not because I wanted to, but because you refused to see me as anything other than a source of solutions. Victoria stepped toward me, jabbing a finger in my direction. You abandoned your responsibilities. You ruined everything. All you had to do was stay out of the way. Stay out of the way. My grandmother's voice cut through the air, trembling but strong. You told her not to come. You told my granddaughter she wasn't welcome at a wedding she paid for. Victoria faltered. Her glare weakened. My mother spun toward my grandmother. Mother, stop being dramatic. This is a family matter. No, Grandma said firmly, lifting her chin. Family doesn't discard one person to elevate another. A crowd had started forming behind us. Travelers slowing down, murmuring, watching. My mother hated scenes. Her cheeks flushed as she glanced around, like public humiliation was somehow my fault too. We didn't do anything wrong, she insisted. You're twisting this. Grant opened another folder. These are copies of the messages sent to Cassandra, including the one uninviting her to the event. He held up another page. And this is documentation of the payments she made. I watched my mother's eyes flick from page to page. Her jaw tightened. Then Grant handed Victoria a separate envelope. What's this supposed to be? Victoria asked, eyebrows raised. Notice regarding the attempted redirection of your grandmother's emergency fund, Grant replied coolly. An account Cassandra has been monitoring. She's the only family member who has never withdrawn from it. Victoria clutched the envelope like it might burn her. My mother turned back to me, voice thin and sharp. How dare you bring strangers into our private affairs? You made it private when you pushed me out, I said. And you made it legal when you tried to use Grandma's savings because you ran out of mine. Connor, who'd been quiet this whole time, finally spoke. Look, can we all calm down? This is getting blown out of proportion. Blown out of proportion? My grandmother repeated. You encouraged Victoria to ask for more. More money, more support. Things she never earned. Connor's jaw tightened. That's not. Stop, Victoria snapped at him. Just stop talking. Something inside her seemed to deflate. Her shoulders sagged. Her bravado leaked away in slow, painful beats. She looked less like the glittering bride she'd imagined herself as, and more like a child caught doing something she knew was wrong. My mother's hand shook as she shoved the documents back at Grant. We can fix this. Just tell us what you want, Cassandra. I took a breath, steady and sure. I want you to understand that I'm done, I said. Done being your safety net. Done paying for consequences you never learn from. Done pretending we're a family when you treat me like a mistake. Silence stretched between us. Heavy. Suffocating. Then Victoria whispered, so you're punishing us. I shook my head. No. I'm protecting myself. Grant stepped in again. There are steps you'll need to follow. You'll have to respond to these notices within the given time frame. And until this matter is resolved, you're not permitted to access the grandmother's accounts. My mother finally opened the envelope. Her eyes scanned the first line. Her expression crumbled, fear replacing indignation. This could get us in trouble, she whispered. It already did, my grandmother replied. My mother looked between us, her confidence dissolving. Cassandra, please. We're family. I met her gaze with a clarity I'd earned the hard way. Family is supposed to protect each other, I said. Not just themselves. For the first time in my life, she didn't have a response. Connor shifted uncomfortably. Victoria wiped her cheek, smudging her mascara. My dad, who'd stayed silent until now, finally stepped forward. I'm sorry, Cassie, he said softly. We should have done better. It was the closest thing to an apology I'd ever heard from him. I nodded, accepting the words without letting them excuse anything. Grant gathered his folders. We're done here. My grandmother took my arm again, her grip steady. As we turned to leave, my mother called after me. Cassandra, What are we supposed to do now? I paused long enough to meet her eyes. Figure it out, I said. The same way you expected me to. And with that, I walked away. Not out of anger, but out of freedom. The first real freedom I'd felt in years. In the weeks that followed, everything settled the way truth always does. Quietly, but permanently. The notices Grant filed moved forward. For the first time, there were real boundaries around my grandmother's savings. No more borrowing. No more pressure disguised as family tradition. The account was protected. And so was she. I visited her more often after that. We'd sit in her small garden while she trimmed roses the same way she had when I was a child. But this time, she didn't look tired. She looked lighter. Like she'd been holding her breath for years without realizing it. The wedding plans dissolved almost overnight. Vendors sent confirmations of canceled payments. Messages trickled into my phone. Some angry. Some embarrassed. Some painfully silent. I didn't respond to any of them. Not out of spite. But because there was nothing left to say. One afternoon, my grandmother rested her hand over mine. You saved both of us, she whispered. But I didn't feel like a savior. I felt like someone finally stepping into her own life. I applied for a volunteer position at a local advocacy center that supported older adults. People like my grandmother, who deserved protection long before anyone noticed they needed it. For once, I wasn't fixing chaos. I was choosing purpose. Looking back, I used to think love meant carrying everything for the people who claimed they needed me. But real love, the kind that heals instead of drains, never asks you to disappear so others can shine. My family's choices didn't define me. My boundaries did. And walking away wasn't the end of something broken. It was the beginning of something honest. Thanks for listening, and if you liked this story, share it with others, and don't forget to comment and subscribe for more stories about setting boundaries, finding your worth, and choosing yourself when others won't. Sometimes the strongest thing you can do is walk away from people who only value what you can give them.